Hello and welcome to the Herald-Tribune SNN Conversations with the Candidates. I'm Tom Tryon, opinion editor of the Herald-Tribune. This show features candidates for 3 seats on the Sarasota County School Board, and first up is District 1. With me are the 4 candidates in this district: Velton Hodges, Ken Marsh, Paul Schaefer, and Bridget Ziegler. Now they're running in a nonpartisan primary. The absentee ballots go out July 22. The primary ends August 26. Candidates for this 4-year office must live in their district, but voting is county-wide. The Herald-Tribune and SNN will provide more coverage of this race as the election draws near, and more information will be available in an online voter guide at heraldtribune.com. Let's go right to the questions. Velton, Sarasota is one of the few counties in the state with a voter-approved 1 meal tax that provides extra funding to local schools. So 3-part question. Okay. Did you, 1, vote in the March referendum on whether to continue the tax? If so, how did you vote? And 3, why? Did you vote? How did you vote? And why?
I've been a part of the referendum effort since the very first one. Because by virtue of being the president of the Sarasota Classified Teacher Association at the time, I was on the original committee that started it. The answer to your question is yes, I did vote. Yes, I voted for it. And why? Because I want to continue to give our school system the resources that we need in order to provide the best educational opportunity we can for our students.
Great. Okay. Ken, same 3 for you.
Yes, I did. I did vote. I also donated to the cause, and I voted yes. And the reason I did is, as you probably know, Florida voters many years ago passed a progressive rule that allowed property-rich districts to share with others, and we want more than an adequate education here in Sarasota. We want a superior education.
Sure. Okay. Paul, same
yes,
3.
Yes, I voted for it. I voted yes. In fact, I had a letter published on March 9th in Herald-Tribune supporting the referendum long before Dr. Todd resigned from the board. And the same reasons. I think we have to keep our schools in A1 condition and provide an excellent education.
Okay, terrific. Bridget?
Yes, I did vote. I, however, am more focused on, as a current school board member, focusing on what we're going to do with that money now that the voters have spoken with the 77% approval rating.
Okay. So do you want to say how you voted?
At the time, I was a private citizen, so I'm going to keep it quiet, but my focus, again, is focusing on what the citizens of Sarasota County approved.
Okay. We'll start back for you. We're just going to go back and forth around. It's easier to manage that way. So before filing for this office, had you ever attended a school board meeting?
You know what's great about Sarasota County is that we offer the school board meetings on television, which is good to engage members of the community who have schedules that may not be able to attend some of the 3 o'clock meetings based on their work schedule. So I regularly watch them. I'd like to take it a step further and see them offered online so people can watch them at their leisure.
Okay. Paul?
Yes, I was a school board member for 15 years in Olean, New York, upstate New York. So I attended many meetings. Here in Sarasota, yes, I've taken classes to Manatee school board meetings and Sarasota board meetings, and the last one I went was June 17th.
Okay, sure. Ken?
Yes, in my 19 years working with Sarasota School Board, and especially my last years in long-range planning, I attended dozens of meetings and presented at many, many workshops and board meetings.
Okay. Velton?
I have attended more meetings than I care to remember. And my 34 years as a teacher in Sarasota County and my 12 years as a union president, been to numerous school board meetings, workshops, court cases, negotiations, depositions, you name it, and I've been involved in it. But yes, the answer is yes, I've been to several of them.
All right, we'll start with you again. Just give us an overall assessment of the Sarasota County School District. I know it's not easy in 30 seconds, but give us your overall impression, please.
We're a very good school district, but we're not a great school district. And I think we've become complacent and comfortable where we're at in terms of student achievement. If you look at the recent FCAT scores and you look at the recent school grades, we're not making significant progress. And I think that has to be addressed. I don't know what the action plan is. We need one. I want a teacher-generated action plan, because if the teachers have input into it, they'll own it, they'll work it, it'll be successful. But we've become comfortable, we've become complacent, and we're not moving forward.
Okay, Ken?
I believe we have an excellent school district. I agree we still need to make improvements, but particularly our minority students and those not with English, not their first language, we're doing much better with them. We have great audits, excellent financial reports. We're an excellent district.
Okay. Paul?
I would agree. We're an A district. As far as I can tell from visiting schools with students from Kaiser University, I'm very happy with the school district as I see it.
Okay.
Well,
Bridget?
and as Belton said, school grades just came out, so it's good to see that we have retained the A rating since 2004. However, I feel that there were some schools that went from B to C, and we don't want to ever be complacent. We want to be #1 in Florida and push even farther in the country. So.
Okay. So at the top of the organizational chart is the superintendent,
Yes.
Lori White. It's one of the main duties of the school board is to hire the superintendent. So give us your specific assessment of Superintendent Lori White.
Well, in the last board meeting, we actually just voted our evaluation on her, and she passed with highly effective scores. I haven't had the pleasure of working side by side with her, but if the district shows A, I know that she's doing a great job.
Okay. Paul?
We live in a society that overvalues the exotic and rewards the obnoxious, loud people. And Lori White comes across as a model of decorum. So everything I've seen, heard, or read about her, I'm very happy with her.
Okay. Ken?
Lori White's an excellent school superintendent. She's a great communicator. She keeps up on the issues. She inspires her staff. Don't know how we could do any better.
All right. Belton?
I've known Lori personally and professionally for a number of years. She's a very capable leader, and she was a perfect choice to lead the district following the departure of Gary Norris, which was somewhat indelicate, if you will. And my only criticism of Lori is that I want to see her now take the reins, develop an action plan, and start to move us forward. Because again, as I said earlier, we've become comfortable where we're at. When we can do better.
All right. As much as everybody seems to appreciate her, there's a very good chance she's going to retire, probably during the term when one of you is on the school board. So we'll start with Velton. What qualities would you want to see in the next superintendent?
Well, I think that the qualities are the ones you're looking for: a good communicator, a good leader, someone who. What I want is someone who's going to engage the teachers and the staff in actually the working of the school system and the planning for the school system. And I want meaningful interaction. I don't want a survey that is all skewed to good or slightly better than that. I want some actual input and some meaningful interactions and a good communicator, a good leader, and someone who's. I'm not interested in the fancy plan of the branding. I want someone who can do the job.
Okay, Ken?
Our next superintendent needs to be a proven instructional leader. Again, great communicator, inspirational. Hopefully, know Florida law and Sarasota County.
Okay. Hey, Paul?
Yeah, I think it's probably the most important job the board has is to hire a good superintendent. One of the things I would look for in communication, leadership, and trust. If you don't trust a person, we're in big trouble. So I want to be able to trust that person to do the best job he or she can.
Okay.
We all are talking about traits that are important. Good communicator, leader, engagement. I'd like to see some innovation also when considering the superintendent.
All right. Just real quick, just very quick. Any thoughts on whether this should be an outsider, an insider, or is that up for grabs in your opinion?
That question is commonly asked when you speak to people around the community. I don't think we should close the doors. I think we should look at people who are local, look at people outside the box, and see who really the best candidate is for our district.
All right.
There are
Paul?
advantages and disadvantages to going outside or staying inside. That's up for grabs.
Okay. Ken?
I think we need to look far and wide if we're not going to, as a board, bring in someone and groom them for the position.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd be in favor of probably a search both inside and outside the district.
Okay. All right. So we'll start with you, Velton. If you had to pick one area, I know it's hard, but if you had to pick one area of the school district that you would like to see the district in with your leadership to focus on in academic terms, area of focus, what would that be?
Again, I think we're sitting still. We're not moving forward. I want to see an action plan generated by the teachers. I want the teachers involved in the planning and in the implementation of it. And I want them to set the standards. And I want the academic achievement to improve. And I don't think we're improving at this point.
All right. A particular area, Ken, that you would like to focus on?
Well, not a particular instructional area, but the teacher, of course, is the most important part of the educational process. And I think we need to invest in our teachers, especially their professional development, and go from there.
Okay. Paul?
Well, I have a doctorate in reading language arts, so literacy would be my big contribution to the board. And I think literacy is terribly important. So I would focus on literacy kindergarten through 12th grade.
Okay. Bridget?
I agree. On the academic side, I think I'd like to see us focus on reading and education. But back to, I also want to see, as teachers play an incredibly vital role, and they have one of the more impactful influences on our students, but as do parents and families. So I want to make sure that they are part of the discussion on what comes to the table.
Okay, and we'll get back to the climate survey, the survey of teachers and staff in a little bit. So you mentioned teachers and, you mentioned parents in particular. What are your thoughts on how you can better engage parents, particularly, let's say those, who are very busy? They may have 2 jobs, they may be single mothers with 2, 3 children, very busy lives. How would you like to engage those parents?
Well, I think there's no doubt that parents want to be involved, but sometimes that dialogue and that communication, they don't know how. So empowering the teachers to have that conversation with the parents and discuss on what's going on. We're in a technological age now. There's a lot of opportunity to have that dialogue, not necessarily face-to-face, but to keep them up to date with what's going on. And then that allows them to be empowered, and I think that would have an impactful, a positive impact on our children's education.
Okay, Paul?
It's a perennial problem. The parents you want to get to come to schools are the ones that don't come. I taught 8 years in Pittsburgh, and it's the same problem 50 years ago we have today. But I think Bridget's absolutely right. Maybe technology is a way of trying. We can try new things.
Okay, Ken?
We need to reach out to the parents and let them know just when the phone rings and we're calling, the teachers are calling, that it's not because their child's in trouble. We need to build that trust and relationship so that they'll really go out of their way to come in physically, and then after that we can use social media and technology to forge a better relationship.
Sure. Okay, Felton?
I have a little different opinion on it. I would go in the opposite direction. I would go away from the technology. I would take the school boards meetings out into the communities, and I would invite the parents and all to come into a meeting and actually have a dialogue. And there'd be nothing wrong with just having a meeting. It wouldn't have to be a formal board meeting. It could be a meet and greet.
Absolutely.
And actually sit there and talk to them face to face and find out what their concerns are.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you all, what is your assessment of the Florida standards and the Florida standards assessment? The standards being basically the curriculum, and the standards being the test. I think it's the replacement for the FCAT. So your assessment of the standards and the assessments, Felton.
I'm a bit ambivalent about this because in my 34-year career, I've seen numerous types of these plans come and go. And the problem with it is during teaching, you get in the middle of it and you almost get used to it, and a new politician would come in, a new plan would come in. As a school board member professionally, I think we need to engage the critics and the proponents of the standards and testing, and let's find out what their concerns are and see if we can work this to our benefit.
All right, Ken?
I support the Florida standards. They provide comparison around the country. They allow students moving in from elsewhere to pick up in the same place. I distinguish standards from curriculum, which are different. The curriculum should be local and with the teacher involvement. The assessment, we're yet to work out how to do that.
Right. Yeah, I should have noted that. The assessments are not done, so
Yes.
that's my bad. Paul?
Yes, I support the standards wholeheartedly. And after 40 years of teaching freshmen in college, I've seen the reading scores decline reading abilities. So I think there's no panacea, but I think it's worth a good try. There'll be growing pains, there'll be missteps along the way, but I do think I support the standards, and we may have to tweak them after the first year. Go to the teachers, what can we do differently?
Mm-hmm. Bridget?
And I agree. Well, I will say that there are some concerns with the Florida State Standards having the association with Common Core. I know that Tallahassee and the governor has removed certain parts of it to separate and make that distinction. I know they're still in transition. I'd like to see how that continues. I know that there is a lot of concern from the community, so I think that's an important part to take into play. As far as the Florida State assessment, it is still in progress, and actually you can go online and they're actually looking for feedback, so if people want to go to the FDOE and take the test, you can give your feedback on it. So.
Okay, thank you. So another mandate is that school districts are supposed to implement some state-mandated performance pay standards. Actually, a performance pay plan. I'm not sure there's standards yet. So, Bridget, we'll start with you. How would you like the district to approach the performance pay issue?
I think this is a very big issue. It's a big topic right now, especially right now we're in contract negotiations with teachers. I'd like to see an objective and subjective portion, formula. I want to see parents, peers feedback, students feedback, and principals, obviously, sorry. And I'd also like to see it have weighted on test scores and grades.
Okay, all right. Paul?
I think VAM is a complete train wreck.
All right, and VAM is?
VAM is value-added model, which
Okay.
they're used to evaluate teachers. And I just read an article last month, in Hillsborough County, the Teacher of the Year had a VAM score, a negative VAM score. And I could quote study after study, there's no reliability, there's no validity, and yet we're going to judge teachers on this VAM, mostly testing.
Okay. Ken?
The requirement, the law is unfair to the great majority of the teachers who don't have students directly working with them on the issues that are testable. So it's not fair. States shouldn't be dabbling in issues. These are sorts of things that a Sarasota school district is capable of doing and we should be able to do on their own. Nevertheless, we need to follow the law. School board, superintendent, and the union will figure out a way to be in compliance.
Okay.
To
Velton?
answer your question directly, I don't know how you do it. It's been tried before. I mean, I've been under a couple of different incarnations of it. It doesn't work. My daughter teaches in Hillsborough County. She's in her 4th year now. She's under this thing, and they are literally building it while they're flying it. And last year, she got highly effective. She had 5 evaluators, including her principal. This year, she has different evaluators, and she said, "Dad, not a single one of them know anything about my subject area."
Okay. We mentioned the climate survey that the school district does of its employees. And Velton, you mentioned it earlier. So tell me about, one, how you think the district should respond to the survey, and feel free to throw in any other ideas.
First of all, if they actually look at the results of the survey, that will be something new, because 3 or 4 years ago at our school, we had occasion we had some problems, some concerns. We finally got Shirley Brown to come over as chairwoman of the board at the time. And in the discussion with our group, we had about 45, 50 people there. She made mention that the superintendent did not share the climate survey results with the school board. And you can imagine how that went over. So if they're actually looking at the climate survey, that will be a good beginning.
Okay. Ken?
We need to look at the latest scores in comparison to the last 10 or 15 years of climate surveys, parents, staff, and students. Look for trends to see are there schools that are getting better, getting worse according to those who are doing the evaluation. If there's a problem, get in there, do something about it. And if it's going great, then replicate it elsewhere.
Okay. Paul?
I have not read the climate report, but I have read articles in the Herald-Tribune.
That's good enough.
With what I've read, to the extent I read it, we're doing a good job. There always could be some malcontent no matter where. So overall, I think we're doing a good job. So I would look at it and study it, though.
Okay. Bridget?
Reviewing it, there's a lot of high ranks. I mean, there's a lot of high marks. But what I wanted to focus in on, where are we slipping? Where are we looking at 3s, because it's 1 to 5? And when I was comparing it, it looked like there was a lot of the feedback from the teachers. They were feeling that their voice wasn't being heard. And again, they are on the front line, so we need to listen to. I mean, their feedback is important.
Tom,
Okay.
if I can, if you really want to get into the climate survey, ask for the comment section.
Really?
That's where you're really going to find out what's going on. Ask for the comments.
Everybody agree?
Oh, yeah.
Good. All right. Okay, well, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. We're going to take actually just 1 minute. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more questions and more candidate discussions from School Board District 1.